Okay, first friction plate, then clutch plate, then friction plate, then clutch plate, again friction plate, clutch plate, friction plate, clutch plate, friction plate, clutch plate, then friction plate. Now why I inserted or installed first friction plate? Because both the clutch center and this pressure plate has got surface which is also acting as a clutch plate. So now if you look at the sequence, this you can call clutch plate, then friction plate, then clutch, friction, clutch, friction, clutch, friction. Now last is friction, and so this is now clutch plate. Now as I said last time also before, you cannot install this like this because there is a timing for that. Now if I install like this, then plates will move, it won't lock, so there will be no clutching. We have to install like this way, you can make out. Now we have to install those springs. Make sure all the notches are in line, at least. I know it is impossible to line up over here because the bale has got basically main notch which is going to align these plates in line, but try to align over here only so it will insert properly. Now the last top plate, spring plate. As I said, you cannot install this existing stock bolt. You can make out the length is different, so the bolt is floating, so I need to use longer length. These two I will install on opposite direction. That's it. I love Allen bolts, better than hexagon. Now the system is under load. Okay, now you can install all those small bolts, but still I need to have length. Still bolt is not touching. See, still no. Now this is touching. Now I can tighten. That's it. But since I have not removed this external bell, so it is now difficult to insert all those notches properly or synchronize those notches, because actually the procedure is that you will have to remove the bell, insert everything, and then tight all those bolts properly so it will synchronize automatically. I cannot do that because I don't have tool for crank sprocket, so I mean for the sprag. So this is what I have done. That is why I have maintained everything over here only. Let's see, let's give it a try. That's it. Not tightening everything a lot. This is a very simple procedure which I found later on. Remove those Allen bolts later on after fitment of this clutch center on the bell, and then use the stock bolts for tightening purpose. Use proper torque as per the company recommendation. Use torque wrench for that. I am not going to use my torque wrench because that torque wrench is very big for those small bolts. If I use that, then the torque will be higher than the company standards. So I'll have to use my normal hand pressure. So let's try to install all those plates of the assembly in the bell. But before that, I'll have to check if there is anything wrong over there, because oh wow. Okay. Apart from carbon, there is no problem at all, I see. So I'll have to clean this first, and then I will show you how to install that. I'll use little bit of kerosene to remove all the carbon. I don't have tool. There is a tool you need to use over here. I made one tool, but it broke now. So I am not going to remove this assembly, whole assembly. I'm going to keep it as it is. Actually, you must remove this along with this kit. Then you have to assemble that whole clutch assembly here, and then you have to assemble along with the crank sprocket or the sprack clutch on the engine. Then it goes inside very perfectly. It's gonna be a little tricky over here, but let's see. You can see I have installed this clutch center on the bell. I had to remove all those 4 stock bolts because friction plate was not coming in line. I cleaned the bell and then installed the clutch center assembly on the bell. There is a needle bearing which I mentioned earlier. Every bearing doesn't require greasing. This is an internal engine bearing, so here you need oiling, not greasing. So I dipped the center, the inner race of the center or bearing in the oil, and then I just installed it on the shaft. I could do this because of no tension on the system, so it self-aligned properly. As per the company, you have to remove this, but since my tool broke, so I didn't remove the whole assembly out of this. On the road you have no choice because nobody carries everything on the road, so you have to work like this way. So these 2 bolts are most important thing basically while working on the clutch system. Everything looks perfect. Now we will tight those bolts properly. Oops. Another thing which I found, that oil which is coming from the sump side is this one. Last time also in the video I mentioned the oil is coming from this side. Now the sump level is very much low. As per the company, I should fill up some 400 ml oil in the clutch when I assemble the system. So I found that maximum time all the oil goes again back to the sump side and the clutch plate works on dry basis. Or whenever I opened the system, I found maximum not more than 300 ml or 200 ml, which is not sufficient to keep the clutch plates wet and cool, because this also require cooling. Because of it burns a lot. So I was thinking about to alter this clutch or the crank case, but not on this bike. I will do that later on, as I want oil level somewhere here till this point at least, so it will be always immersed condition. Yes. This is just few % of work what we have done. I have to fix up all other things also, but after cleaning, because the thing has got a lot of carbon. And then the clutch operating system with the bearing. It doesn't require grease, again I'm telling you. It requires oil, because this is completely, sometimes grease can choke up the system, but not 100%, because it melts also because of heat, but there is a limit for that. Okay. It's going a little offset. That's it. Stock bolts, see, they are floating nicely on the surface. Perfect. It's very easy to install, hassle free. Two left. After removing this Allen bolt, I will be installing those bolts. So now the plate is locked very well. Then I will remove. One hand work not possible. I need a photographer or videographer for this. Nice and clean fitment. Later on we'll fix up this hex bolt on the clutch center. While installing that, we will be using Loctite, that will ensure that the nut will not get loose because of the vibration or because of the rotation. Even the crank or sprocket bolt require Loctite, because I have seen many times the bolt comes out and starts scratching out the casing, clutch casing. Okay, I'm done. I'm done with this. Now I'll be using my torque wrench or the pneumatic tool, but before that I'll just fix up